From Haiti, land of the voodoo, comes the most infamous cult of all. Bela Lugosi as Murder Legendre.
I see death.
Master of the undead damned. The sinister power behind the white zombie.
Zombies? Yes, they are my servants.
This soul killer takes men from their graves to be his slaves. His instruments of terror, and now this fiend plots to possess a woman.
Only a pin boy, Monsieur Beaumont, in a glass of wine, or perhaps a flower.
Keep it, monsieur. Keep it. You may change your mind.
Not dead? Are you mad? I saw her die. The doctor signed a certificate. I saw them bury her.
Captive in the borderland between life and death. Her brain drained of the life spark. The white zombie obeys the unholy commands of her demon master. As mindless creatures carry out his cursed will, terror explodes in horror and heartquake.
Zombie! Allez vite! Allez!
Never eyes so evil, never powers so potent, never magic so black. Bela Dracula Lugosi as the master of the white zombie.
Welcome to my humble home.
Look, Mr. Summers, I've got to get my aunt off this island. She's been this way ever since we came here. I'm just afraid if we don't get away soon, something dreadful is going to happen to all of us.
Go back.
Let me out of here! Let me out of here!
Good evening, goblins and ghouls, and welcome to the Friday Night Scream Stream. I'm your host, Spakenstein, joined as always by my very good friend, Mr. Evan Sink.
Good evening.
How we How we doing tonight, Evan?
I think we're doing pretty well. How are you doing tonight?
Well, if my voice would hang in there, I'd be doing pretty good. Curse these weak vocal cords of mine. You know, what am I gonna do something about this, man? It's becoming a real problem.
Yeah, hope everybody at home, everybody out there or in the ether is doing well.
Yes, I hope everybody is enjoying this Friday end of what maybe it was a long work week for some of you guys, or maybe you're just, maybe
it was a really long work week.
Yeah, if you're Evan, maybe it was a super long week and you're just so happy to be here at the weekend, and we couldn't be happier to be here with you. We made it. We're here. And I hope everybody's enjoyed their Groundhog Day.
Yeah. So what was the verdict? I think it's more winter?
No.
It's over?
He did not see his shadow.
Okay, he didn't see a damn thing.
He didn't see which is apparently rare. Like, did you realize how rare it is for him to not see his shadow?
Yeah, usually it's more winter.
Usually
we go, of course there's more winter.
Mhm.
It's February.
Yeah, right. What do you expect? Like, you're calling it on the second day of February. Are you idiot groundhog? No. Actually, for once, he did the right thing. He didn't see a shadow, because I know it's a choice. It's his choice.
We're pinning it all on this groundhog.
And I saw the infographic today on the news. Like, he has seen his shadow 108 times and not seen his shadow like 20 something times in the past. Hoping everybody has enjoyed their Groundhog Day, enjoying their Friday, the end of the week. We're happy to have you all here. That was the gist of
one for the record books.
Yeah, it really. It really was. Again, that's what we said.
I heard today that we said that he usually sees his shadow, or doesn't see his shadow?
Doesn't. He usually does see his shadow.
Okay, he usually does see his shadow, but I learned today that he's only right about 39% of the time, which is less than a coin flip.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So maybe we should just skip the the middleman. We'll have a Puxatawny quarter instead.
Yeah, I think,
Maybe a
I mean,
Puxatawny nickel.
I'm surprised with how up in arms people get about the use of like animals and,
Okay.
in like movies and
yeah.
things, like trained performing animals that they haven't phased out Phil yet.
Well, that's maybe true. I feel like he doesn't have to. He only has to work for 1 day a year. He's got a pretty good gig, as far as animals with jobs go.
Yeah. Oh my God, seriously. And you think about all the publicity that he gets, all the, I mean, some people really.
I imagine. I mean, I don't know how they, what kind of handling goes into. If is he like a local celebrity?
You know that the people in what's the name of the town? Is it
Puxatawny?
Is it Puxatawny? You know that they treat it like Christmas. You
Right, okay,
absolutely know that that is the most important day of the year for them.
Yeah.
And it is like the highest holiday.
Do you think he has like a bodyguard?
Oh, for sure. I think that, well, and I mean, obviously, they've been through many groundhogs. Let's not kid ourselves into thinking there's just one.
It's not always the same one.
Over 100-year-old magic groundhog.
It's like Shamu. There's been a bunch of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is about time we move on to a prognosticating quarter as opposed to a groundhog. I think let's just let's phase out the kind of, let's just move that tradition around. What is it? Yeah, that's what I'd be afraid. That thing would pee on me.
Yeah.
Don't.
It's predicting rain.
Give me a quarter. It's gonna have a better chance of being correct with a quarter, as you said, Evan.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
we could hand it over to AI.
Don't, Evan. They're gonna do it now that you said
Puxatawny
it.
GPT.
It's gonna happen. It'll by next year. That'll be their thing, their new thing to try to be hip and cool. And honestly, the AI may get it right like 98% of the time. So maybe we should. No, I'm not advocating for that. Not really. Just kidding.
Yeah, we're not all for automation here.
No, yeah, it's I mean, come on. A lot of people are losing jobs right now because of AI.
There's a lot of groundhogs losing jobs nowadays.
Seriously. You don't know how many groundhogs are out of business now because of this chat. What are you going to do? We'll fight it. We'll be here. We'll be fighting it with our, super old school movies and TV shows and all the good stuff that we watch here. And we've got a treat for you tonight because we are celebrating Black History Month, which obviously you wouldn't think is something, something that, on this show we would be doing because we watch old horror movies. I'll be straight up. There is not a lot of representation for the Black community in horror films in the span of time that most of the movies on this show.
Yeah, because we're in the between the 1920s and the sometimes the 1970s.
We get as far up as the 70s, and basically we could probably count on one hand the number of Black characters that have been in the movies on this show. None of them have been main characters. They've been side characters. 2 times it's been Mantan Moreland, which the trailer that played in our pre-roll for King of the Zombies, he was in playing, a sidekick, a servant, which is one of the kind of stereotype roles that Black actors in Hollywood constantly found themselves in. So we saw him in that role in King of the Zombies, but we also kind of saw him in a parody of that role in Spider Baby, where they basically killed the trope off by killing him off in the first 5 minutes of the movie. Spoiler alert. So that, and then, we've had some zombie movies on this show that are the voodoo branch. And so every once in a while, maybe a couple side characters that are Black. But other than that, I mean, in the world of horror, There's really no representation. So, as a part of Black History Month, we're educating ourselves by watching the first horror movie with an all black cast, actually written by a black writer, who's also in the movie. And this is 1940's Son of Ingagi. And again, this is pretty tried and true like horror film. It's kind of an old dark house film. It's kind of a mad scientist film. There's also we're gonna get an ape man running around. So you
Always
kind of
fun.
have, yeah. I mean, it's funny. Like this was in 1940. This movie came out in 1940. And it's pretty on par with a lot of the movies that we would see from the Hollywood Poverty Row studios, like the movies Lugosi was in for Monogram in the early 40s. But this movie came before all those. And again, it's all an all black cast, all black characters, and you presented sans stereotypes. Because this is what was referred to at the time as a race film, and race films were made specifically for the black community in the United States, and
So kind of like a regional film. In that
pretty,
way.
yeah, very, very similar, and also in the sense that this whole system kind of existed outside of Hollywood. That a lot of the companies, filmmakers, a lot of these productions were based out of the North and not
Okay,
out of
yeah.
Hollywood. And so you kind of, it's funny, there's this kind of whole ecosystem of films that you don't really, and race films didn't just, it was films for black audiences, but there were also films for Asian audiences and Yiddish speaking. I mean, there's all kinds of like different, communities that had films made for them. But that was the kind of thing. If you were looking to Hollywood to do fair representations of normal life for these minorities, it was never going to happen. Yeah, Nice Fan. That's a great like early example of kind of, that they would produce different language films for, I mean, they'd have Spanish language, they'd have German, they'd have French versions of things. And yeah, the Spanish version of Dracula, arguably better than the original version of Dracula. I mean, that's the thing that, when these artists were actually given a chance, they were never given much of a budget, but you'd be surprised at kind of some of the artistic flourishes. And I hope we'll see that with tonight's movie. I haven't seen it, but it is a history making film. And so, tonight we'll be getting into the history of this film and just the history of black horror, or, the history of black representation in horror. And, as we've talked about up to this movie, it's been a lot of stereotypical roles, mostly in voodoo zombie stuff or as servant maid types.
Mhm.
So this is really a big departure for that. So it's gonna be interesting. So we'll get into all that tonight. It's a lot of cool history stuff. So I hope you're ready. I hope you're taking your notes and you've got your
Got your learning hat on.
learning caps on. Seriously, I sent them all to you. You should have your learning caps. If you're not wearing it right now, I'm ashamed of you. No. Yeah, so we're gonna get a lot of cool facts and tidbits tonight. And of course, one of the other cool things we're gonna get tonight is a cool cocktail that Evan pairs with the film in a wonderful segment, which we call
What
Ah!
were you
there
drinking?
it is. Wrong button. What are we gonna be drinking tonight, Evan?
Well, tonight we have a recipe from Africa. This is a recipe from Kenya, actually known as the national drink of Kenya. It is a cocktail called dawa. That is it's the Swahili word for medicine. So
Okay.
hopefully this is gonna cure what ails us.
What maybe you're again like Evan, maybe you've just had a really, really long week.
Yeah, maybe you need a little something. You need a little medicine.
This is just what the doctor ordered.
But this it seems pretty good. If you'd like to make this at home, you'll need some vodka, some limes, some brown sugar, and honey.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do is you can't see it on the camera, but just close your eyes and imagine. You'll need to muddle some limes and some brown sugar in the bottom of a glass. Pour over some vodka and your honey, and then swirl that around with a little bit of crushed ice. And I wish I had some because I really like this idea, but in Kenya, what they do, they have these little things they're called dawa sticks.
Yeah, I saw that in the recipe. That you
Yeah,
sent to me.
yeah, they're like little wooden sticks that I don't know what they're called, but like if you're watching like a Honey Nut Cheerios commercial and they do the thing where they dip the stick in the honey and it's like it's kind of shaped like a beehive
Right,
almost.
Right.
I think they're kind of like that.
Okay.
So you're meant to like you dip it in the honey and then you put it in your glass, and if you want it to be sweeter, you can kind of swirl it around more.
Okay.
So you can adjust
Okay. Interesting.
the sweetness of the drink.
I like it. I like it. I'm very excited for this.
Yeah. So these are coming up.
I mean, and this kind of fits in with. I feel like the past few weeks we've had some pretty straightforward cocktails in terms of. They're
absolutely,
not
yeah.
overloaded with like different liquors.
Yeah. I've been using some actual recipes and not just the crazy, concoctions that I'm cooking up. So we've actually had some good, simple, real drinks, and they do. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. The idea of that like ratio of the spirit to sweet to sour, and we're doing pretty much the same thing here tonight.
Ooh. Very
We've
nice.
got our citrus, we've got our sweet, we've got the sugar and the honey.
Smells good.
It does smell good. It smells like limes.
Yep. It does smell. There's a lot of limes in here. It smells like
It
limes.
called for a lot of limes. It called for a whole lime cut into quarters. So,
well, I'm excited.
yeah, I'm ready to give this a try.
All
So,
right.
to tonight's movie,
Cheers.
this is Dawa.
Dawa.
Cheers. Mmm,
That's good.
that is good.
That's good. I wasn't
Yeah.
sure what to expect, but
Yeah, the way that yeah, it's got like a bouquet to it.
it does.
Kinda-
Like it's kind of opening up as
Yeah.
it,
It's
it's
delicious. Yeah, definitely getting all the
Wow.
lime. It's not really too sweet, but
No.
it's not overpowering.
Yeah,
or
the like
anything. It's
between
very
the like citrusy of the lime and then the like the alcohol kind of like sting. It kind of like oh, that's interesting.
yeah. That's a good one. That's a good
That
one.
is
I
good.
think I could see myself doing that again.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, it seems like one that you can kind of chill on a little bit.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
All I need is one sip. I'm like, whoa. Okay.
Sip on your medicine there.
Yes, it does. Medicine is it's an appropriate moniker for this drink. I think it fits the bill. No, this is good. I like what you've done. I think this will be good. I mean, again, medicine. There is a mad scientist in tonight's film. So,
Okay.
see, again, we're talking about like this film. I really want to. By the time that we're done, by the end of tonight's episode, I want to kind of compare tonight's film to the Poverty Row horror movies that we've seen, like The Ape Man with Bela Lugosi, or The Monster Maker, or The Mad Monster, any of those Poverty Row films. Because I think there are some interesting elements here, like the mad scientist in this movie is a woman. And again, this is an all-black cast, so it's a black woman. In 1940, that's kind of like a wild
Yeah.
thing to wrap your head around. So, it was one of the things that when I first read about this movie, I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. There's, there's like, because this is not
We
a
don't
movie.
really get a lot of women villains. Period.
No, you don't.
We've had maybe a couple, but it's usually not.
No, they're not the main villain. They're kind of like a side villain or it doesn't. So it's kind of what I want to, by the end of tonight's episode, I want to be able to do. I kind of want to compare and contrast this with some of the other Poverty Row horror movies, because again, this is not a Poverty Row horror movie. This was made outside of Hollywood. Poverty Row was Poverty Row, but it was still in Hollywood. This is totally outside the system.
You said this was still kind of low budget.
Yeah, this is so. That's why I want to compare, because the budgets are very similar. I think we'll find narratively they're very similar. But again, this is before any of those. This movie kind of came at an interesting time. Horror movies just kind of got back in vogue the year before in 1939 with Son of Frankenstein, which might be, we'll get into later. Kind of the title of tonight's movie is a little, you have to dissect it a little bit, but the son of part really probably comes from Son of Frankenstein, which was
they were doing Son of blank.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny how those Frankenstein movies kind of started that like trend of horror movie sequels being the relative of the son of the daughter of
God's son of Dracula.
Yeah, I mean, the list goes on and on. You could go
second cousin of the Wolfman.
Right. The movies get really, really low quality by the end of it. You'd be surprised. But yeah, I mean, that was kind of this was really, this movie came at an interesting time, just when horror movies were coming back in vogue, but before Poverty Row really took off with their horror movies. So it's kind of, and again, it comes from a totally different world. And, the writer who's also in the film playing a detective character, he's actually a really interesting figure in the like history of Black filmmaking in general. He's a pioneering Black filmmaker. So we'll talk about him tonight. We'll talk more about race films. Again, these are just like, for this, in preparation for this, I watched this I'd seen it before, but there's this documentary called Horror Noir, and it's about the history of Black horror, and it's based on a book. But it talks about tonight's movie, but it talks about how this movie, just being able to see casual representations of like just a regular wedding, just a normal, like it's really like kind of meaningful. Like there's a lot of this movie really, it's just kind of different on a lot of levels. So I think we're going to enjoy it. I think it'll be fun. And yeah, we're going to learn a lot. So anything before we get into tonight's movie, Evan?
Talking about this movie is kind of making me want Wendy's.
Wendy's? Why?
So I want a Son of Baconator.
Ooh, Son of Baconator.
That's what it's called, right?
Man, well, yeah, but why not just go with the original?
Oh, of course.
And I'm the same way with the Frankensteins too. I mean, Son of Frankenstein's fine, but why go for Son when you could just have the original? Like, that's just me. We'll get into the title of this movie is a whole deal. We'll get into that in the first break. And all right, I think without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into the exciting beginning of Son of Ingagi right now. SAC Amusement Enterprises was one of these companies that made race films. Alfred N. Sack was a producer and distributor who made these movies. A lot of these race films were produced by white men. He was a white man, and the director of this was white, but the writer was black. Okay, hell yeah. That was a nice shot.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Abiding to the laws of the state, I pronounce you man and wife. You may now kiss your bride.
Oh yeah, R.I.P. Carl Weathers.
Yeah, we talked about just turning this into a Carl Weathers tribute episode, but yeah, big Carl Weathers fans over here. In Arrested Development, superb.
And you have a wonderful little wife. You'll have to excuse me for getting here so late. Had a little business in court, you know.
Well, that's all right, Mr. Branshaw.
Suppose you're off on your honeymoon?
Not yet. We're going to have a wedding breakfast at my mother's house.
Well, good luck to you both. And remember, if I can ever be of service, just call on me.
But you specialize in divorce cases, and we won't need you.
I hope not.
You bet we won't.
That's actually a good tagging for a divorce lawyer. Show up at the wedding and offer your services.
It's like ambulance chasers, wedding
I love
chasers.
that. Yeah.
Where you spending your honeymoon, Bob?
Here's my card.
That's bad. A friend of mine spent his honeymoon there, didn't sleep a wink. He said the falls kept him awake.
Well, in that case, maybe we'll go to Honolulu.
Honolulu, get that
Honolulu. There's the rice. And the cans.
And the cans. I love the cans.
Wait a minute. Let's get organized.
Uh-oh,
Who's
no
going
sound
with
from
me?
the movie.
You going with me, Lucky? No, I'm taking my
What?
car, and I'm take 4 of them. Well, come on, let's
Damn
go.
it.
See you over there.
I got it.
Hello, Nelson. Hello, Brad. Well, there they go.
Yeah. Won't be long now.
Well, well, well. If it isn't my very good friend, Dr. Helen Jackson.
I'm not your very good friend. You're
Ooh.
only my lawyer.
Now, please, Doctor.
I
You
like
mustn't
the way
take it
she
that
does
way.
business.
Detective Nelson, Dr. Helen Jackson.
I don't like detectives, especially fat ones. How you
He's the
doing, Mr.
writer.
Nelson?
Oh, okay.
Mr. Bradshaw, I'd like to see you at my home right away. I want you to make out a will.
A will?
Thank you again, nice fan.
Yes, a will, my will. Don't you know how to
Saving
make
our
out a
asses
will?
tonight.
Well, yes, of course, but who's to be your beneficiary? You haven't got any...
That's none of your business. Good day, Mr. Nelson. Oh, how much are you going to charge me?
Oh, I guess it'll be worth about...
Never mind what it's worth. I'll give you $5, not a cent more.
I'll take it.
But wait a minute, Doctor. Can I give you a lift in
Master
my car?
negotiator.
Oh, no. Never been in one of those fool contraptions yet. Certainly ain't going to start now.
She's never been
Not
in a
at my
car.
age.
Now tell me that old lady's got enough money to burn up a wet mule.
She's got money, all right. But where she keeps it, no one knows.
Mystery.
Almost knocked over that lamp.
Whoa.
Well, this is it.
Oh, Bob, this is lovely.
Aren't you glad it's all over?
You bet I am. But didn't we fool the gang when we told them we were going to Honolulu on our honeymoon?
Mm-hmm. But this is going to be a better honeymoon than we could have any place else in the world. Isn't it?
Yes,
Are you
dear.
sure?
In our own little home.
I mean, I guess if you're as long as you're happy, right?
Oh, good point. Yeah, $110.
So this is Honolulu.
I'm not paying you anymore.
Well. Say, we might run into Bob and Eleanor Lindsay here. That's right. They said they were coming to Honolulu on their honeymoon.
Bringing Honolulu.
Wow, they're crashing their wedding night.
Look at that. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Say, what is this?
Say.
Bob, my boy, this is the beginning of a party. When it'll end, nobody knows. What do you say?
think that would be lovely.
Well, why not?
Oh, boy.
Let's go.
Listen, boy. Folks,
Party.
the party's on. Well, what are we waiting for?
Party is on. Wow, that party started quick.
Did it start at 11 or is it now?
On the dot. Ooh.
Oh, nice.
That was cool.
Well, I guess it's all right. Well, I suppose you're waiting for your money.
No, not exactly. But,
Well, go on. What is it?
I had to have a couple of witnesses. I think we should give them something for their trouble, don't you?
No. What you think is none of my business.
What, no
I
tip?
promised to pay you $5. That's all you're going to get.
Oh, okay, nice fan. Thanks for the inflation roundup there. It's well, that's a pretty penny. $5.
Yeah, that's not nothing.
No.
Good day, Mr. Bradshaw.
For an hour's work? What is it? Probably didn't take much time at all. Just standard boilerplate.
Good day, Doctor.
It's my will signing gone.
The will husband side.
And no
That makes
more
it official.
nothing that's fun. And now, old pal, you'll soon find out that two can't live as cheap as one. So long, old pal, so long goodbye. Our party makes us cry. But here's one thing, you must know that you can't run with us no more. So long, old pal, so long goodbye. Perhaps we'll meet again on high. We thought that you would always be a champion of liberty. So long, old pal, so long goodbye. We'll meet again before we die. You absolutely nullified Mr. Barney Bear's the most famous ride. So long, old pal, so long goodbye. We haven't even asked you the reason why. You surely didn't go back on old George who fought so hard at Valley Forge. So long, old pal, so long goodbye. The hour of parting really makes us cry. Give our regards to your wife and say goodbye to paradise. So long, pal. We surely hate to leave you. So long, pal.
George Johnny Beaver.
So long, pal.
We're going to put on.
So long, old pal. Goodbye.
Wow. See, that's what you got to make friends with, just natural entertainers. You just got to, so for your wedding, you don't even have to pay for a band.
Yeah.
Your friends are the
Man, how about playing
They're
that
just gonna
sheriff
sing
song to
anyway.
bride and groom?
Sheriff song? Which one?
Something about you drive gloom away or something.
Oh, you mean you drove the gloom away?
Oh, there, Bob. That's a good song to sing along there. Drove the gloom away. Swing it, boys.
When the sky is cloudy and gray and it rains hard all day, you did something sweet to me. You drove the gloom away. When snow is on the ground and the tree leaves couldn't be found, you did something sweet to me. You drove the gloom away. Bees warm around you. They think it's fine. Oh, I'm so wild about you, baby. And to top it off your mind, when snow is on the ground and the tree leaves couldn't be found, you did something sweet to me. You drove the gloom away. Now when the sky is cloudy and gray and it rains so hard all day, you did something sweet to me. Oh,
Yeah, nice fan if they only
when
knew.
snow's on the ground and the tree leaves couldn't be found, you did something sweet to me. Oh, baby, you drove the gloom away. Leaves warm around you. Days thinking about, I'm so wild about you, baby. And to top it off your mind, when snow is on the ground and the tree leaves couldn't be found, you did something sweet to me. You drove gloom away. You drove gloom away. You drove gloom away. Oh, baby, you drove the gloom away.
Well, it's getting kind of late, Bob. I think you better go. Eleanor?
2 songs, that's all we're good for. Then we're out.
Taking charge of his new home and everything. We want to surprise you.
Oh, don't apologize. We really don't know how to thank you. Why, we've had a wonderful time. Haven't we, Bob?
You bet we have.
And listen, I want you to and bring the boys over real soon, will you?
Sure, anytime, Eleanor, anytime.
And Fred, when you and Martha get married...
Oh, shit. What was that?
What is it, Bob?
It looks like a fire. I think it's the foundry.
The foundry?
That's
What is
what it
a
looks
foundry?
like from here.
They like
And if it is,
something with metal.
I won't have a job to go to in the morning.
Well, why don't you go and see if it really is the foundry?
Yes, come on, we'll drive over my car.
Oh, but this is our wedding
Yes,
night.
but that fire's probably burning you out of a job. Come on, let's go.
Go on, Bob. They're waiting.
Okay, honey. Run along and get a wrap.
Oh, but I'm not going.
Why not?
Oh, I don't like fires. And besides, I'm a little tired. You run along. I'll wait.
Nothing doing. I'm not going to leave you in this house all alone.
Robert James Lindsay, are you going to quarrel with me on our wedding night? Now, you run along and see what's happening to your job.
Oh, but honey, I don't want
I'll be right here when you come back, safe, sound, and waiting.
Waiting?
Waiting. Wink.
Wink. She's not going to sleep. It's her wedding night.
You better not go to sleep.
Something's gonna happen.
May I come in?
Oh.
Oh, you startled me.
I'd like to talk with you for a moment. Well, that is, if you don't mind.
Certainly, Doctor. Come in.
Thank you.
Won't you sit down?
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh.
I just come over to thank you for inviting me to your wedding.
Oh, thank you for coming.
Yeah, but what I want to know is, just why did you invite me?
Really, I don't know what to say, except we were trying to select the best people in town.
And you feel that I am as important as Mrs. Jones and Mrs. Bradshaw and people like that?
Why, Doctor, I think you're much more important.
And you really
the best
wanted to
around.
invite me in spite of all the evil things they say about me?
I most certainly did. You see, I know a lot about the good deeds you've done. And I don't think there's any truth in the things people say about you. I also know it was you who paid the mortgage on the colored children's home.
Who told you that?
My foster parents. They told me many things about you. They knew you even before you went to Africa on a missionary. Didn't they? Did you know my real parents?
I knew them both very well. Your mother and I were schoolmates. I introduced her to your father. They fell in love with each other, and they were married.
I've often wondered what they were like, but all I know about them is what I've been told.
They're both dead, child. They were killed in a tornado when you were 10 months old. It was only a miracle that you escaped. Your parents were good people, both of them. I last saw them on the day they were married. After that, I went to Africa. Your mother looked just as you do now. I might have been your mother.
Wait, what?
She was younger than I was. Youth must be served always.
You loved my father, too.
I loved him, too.
Dang, she's just coming in here dropping all kinds of bombs.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Bob,
Well, I'm out of a
was it the
job.
foundry?
Yes. And you know what that means.
It means you can go on your honeymoon right away. Well, I'd better be going and leave you two alone. I almost forgot what I came for. I brought you a little present.
It's $5. You're
Your
not going
father
to get any
gave me
more.
that before he married your mother. It's yours now. Take it.
What is it?
You're the only person in the world I'd give that to. I hope you like what's inside. Well, good night.
Good night, Doctor.
Good night.
Gotta get back to my house made of candy.
And pleasant dreams.
That's kind of a creepy looking house. Somebody turn on the lights.
It's nighttime.
Oh, there we go. Phew. Uh-oh. What?
Well, Zeno, I see you haven't learned that breaking in houses and climbing through windows is bad business.
That's what the kind of lawyer I
Yeah.
want.
And I see you ain't learned that hiding gold from the government is also bad business.
Wait, is this the lawyer or is this somebody else? I think this is a different
What do you mean by that? You know what I mean.
We haven't met this.
You've got $20,000 in gold hidden somewhere in this old house. Gold you brought back from Africa. Gold you didn't turn into the government. And I want half of it.
Are you asking me to divide my life's earnings with you merely because you're my no-good brother? Is that it?
Oh, it's
You
her
catch
no-good
on
brother.
quick, don't you? I'm not asking. I'm taking. See?
The last thing you took was 10 years in the penitentiary.
10 years in the pokey.
10 seems to be my lucky number, don't it? Sure it is. That's why
Pokey
I'm
is
only
like too
taking
cute of
half
a
your
name
gold.
for the
Savvy?
pen.
You know, you're very, very amusing.
Now listen, sister. Don't try any of your funny business, or someone's liable to get hurt.
Why, I'm surprised
No
at a
funny
brave man like you being afraid of a little thing like this.
Never mind the flowers. What is that thing anyway?
It's just a little souvenir that I picked up in Singapore. A Chinese gong striker. Hey, I'll show you how it's used.
Pretty cool, right?
Ooh.
Whoa, what?
No.
Where'd you get that?
It won't do you any good.
Turns
Because
this
if
room
you
into
try
a fun
any of your
house.
black magic on me, I might
Pee-wee's
forget that you're my sister.
I'm afraid I don't
snap.
quite understand you, Zeno. Don't look now. But there's a great big man right behind you.
Listen, Helen, that gag's as old as the hills. Why, they've even set it to music.
Is that so? Well, that's just fine. Because Ingina likes music. Don't you, Ingina? Stop! Stop! By the way, Zeno, did I understand you to say that you were taking some gold or something?
No. All I want to do is get out of here.
Oh, nice. Dang. He took a flying leap out that window.
What she said. The man
Yeah.
is skilled at climbing through windows.
You gotta be skilled at flying out of them, I guess.
Bring smock.
Just then, she's kept us
And that is gonna take us to our first break. What do we think so far, Evan?
I'm enjoying this so far. I really like the couple is really sweet. It's really
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah.
This is our bad guy, right?
This is our
The
mad scientist.
mad
yes.
scientist lady.
But she's kind of sympathetic, and so this is kind of the thing that is already getting me is like how kind of developed the story is, and
Yeah.
especially like her as the mad scientist, that she has some kind of like sympathetic qualities in the story. I mean, how often do you hear about the like her a mad scientist like romantic past where they like I don't know, and getting invited to the wedding. I don't know. It's kind of like intricate.
It is, yeah.
It's just you don't normally see in like a Poverty Row horror movie where there's very little character development, and also the couple is usually not likable or memorable at all.
Yeah, they're just kind of
they're usually annoying, like or
cardboard
one of them
cutout types.
Yeah, it's not. They make no impression on you whatsoever, and I would 100% agree. This couple is like, they're just really like.
It's
cute.
just it's sweet. They feel kind of authentic.
Yeah, authentic. That's what it is. That is the word. There is an authenticity to it. So yeah, I mean, and we got to see our creature there. Which, I mean, hey, like first third of the movie, we've already had like we've seen our mad scientists, we've gotten our creature, we got the setup down, kind of.
Yeah.
So I don't know quite how it's all.
Yeah, where this is going exactly.
Right. We
Yeah.
still haven't quite, but there's been enough interesting character development that I'm okay with kind of the way that the plot is. I mean, again, some of the Poverty Road movies that we've sat through have no skill for pacing whatsoever. So we've definitely sat through worse that have had no character development. So I'll take character development any day. So we'll talk more actually about the writer, Spencer Williams, later.
Yeah, are we gonna see more of him?
We will. Yeah, he'll be
Okay.
more prominent in the later part of the movie. So we'll talk about him later. Yeah, we just kind of got a glimpse of him at the beginning.
The detective. I guess something's got to happen first, and then the
Mhm.
detective comes in.
Right. Yeah, we gotta. They're building the tension. They're building the mystery, right? But at least they already introduced the detective. Like,
Yeah.
At least he's not just gonna pop in like
He's just gonna just slide in the second act out of nowhere.
Yeah, no. Luckily, they're gonna spare us that, and he'll get a little bit of development. Got a little bit. But yeah, I mean, so far, I'm engaged.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
loving
good
it,
stuff.
liking it. And some interesting shots too.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
shot of-
The whoever was behind the camera definitely has or whoever planned that has a good eye for visual. I really loved the fade between
the dissolve on the skull,
the
and the
dissolve
clock.
on the skull.
That was amazing.
Yeah, that was great.
That so iconic skull dissolve that I think of is the movie Psycho. At the very end, there's like this dissolve where like a skull is kind of superimposed over another character's face, right? And it kind of like fades. There was something about how slow that transition was that was just like, whoa, that's kind of matching the two images. And yeah, you gotta appreciate when there's little attention to the details like that. I know that one of the guys behind the camera, one of the cinematographers, we have seen his work before. One of the DPs is Roland Price, who shot Marijuana, which we watched last year for our 420 special. And he also shot The Bride and the Beast, which is an Ed Wood penned guerrilla movie, which I don't think is public domain, so we can see it. But and I don't know, those shots that may I don't know if that was stock footage or shot for this movie. Maybe the editor was the one that kind of cobbled that together and made those interesting choices. But whatever the case may be, it's had some nice touches so far.
Very cool.
So definitely enjoying it. To kind of get into like the backstory of this movie, like we said earlier, it was the year after Son of Frankenstein, which was a huge hit. Because we've talked in the past about how like in the late 30s, horror kind of got a bad rap and it declined and they kind of stopped making horror movies for a little bit. Well, and Son of Frankenstein kind of turned things around and started a new cycle at Universal, and then Poverty Row, everybody else was making them. But the other part of the title of tonight's movie, Ingagi, you may be curious about that because there won't be any character Ingagi.
Who's Ingagi?
Okay, so this is really kind of a wild story. So basically, it's trading the title of this, the Ingagi part, is trading off of the title of a movie from 1931 or 1930 called Ingagi, which is a racist film. It purports to be a documentary about like an explorer's trip to Africa, and it basically implies that there's this African tribe that is sacrificing women to gorillas as sex slaves. And
well, that's not good.
It's not good. And it purported to be a real documentary. And it was basically an exploitation film because
it sounded like the opposite of tonight's film.
Yeah, 100%. It had nudity and like lurid advertising, trading off the nudity and the connection between this woman and this gorilla, and just all these kind of like unsavory things. Playing it on those racist kind of colonialist stereotypes, animal cruelty, like at the beginning of the movie, they tease that there's this legend of this tribe that sacrifices women to gorillas. And then the middle part of the movie is just like them shooting different animals. And then they apparently introduce at one point a new species of animal called the tortadillo.
The tortadillo? It sounds like something you'd get at Taco Bell.
It does. It does. Coming the tortadillo box from Taco Bell.
Can I get just the tortadillo supreme?
Just the tortadillo, please. No sides. Yeah. So like it really was an exploitation film. And of course, all that was bullshit. It was not a documentary. It was all faked. There is no such thing as a tortadillo. It was just a turtle that they glued wings, scales, and a long tail to.
Nice.
And that was the tortadillo.
Nice.
So that, and like they stole a bunch of footage from this documentary from 1915 without getting permission. Like used a bunch of that, and then shot some new footage at a zoo. And then shot some footage with an actor in a gorilla costume.
That where did they get the turtle at the zoo?
I think so. Yeah, they did.
So they just reached into the bars and glued on the wings and the
and just I'm sure they
tail.
had the full permission of the people in charge of the zoo.
Oh gosh.
Well, basically, we've talked about this was a pre-code film. We've talked about the code and all that before. Well, the people behind the code, the Hayes office people, were really opposed to this movie, but not because it was racist, but because it was falsely billing itself as a documentary when it was in fact not a documentary. So they were really upset about the false advertising angle of it. And so they like set out to prove that it was a fake. And of course, the heirs of the woman who made that old documentary sued because they didn't get permission to they just stole this documentary footage, put it in their movie. So like basically
copyright. That's our show is kind of based
all
around
about copyright. It all comes down to copyright. Well, he didn't bother. The filmmaker behind Ingagi didn't bother with that. But basically, by the time that the Better Business Bureau got involved, eventually the Federal Trade Commission got involved and put a cease and desist out on this movie that it could not show anymore because of its false advertising. But by that point, it had already been a huge success. It had played for 3 years and it made $4 million in Depression money.
Oh my god!
It was this was an independent film.
Wow.
And it was a huge success. So
yeah, can we get the inflation figure for that?
Yeah. I'm not quite sure what the numbers are there, but apparently it was a huge hit. And even though it was obviously super racist, they, in the articles that I read about it today, there wasn't really any like outrage from the NAACP. They didn't have anything to say about this movie. And so then when the title kind of got co-opted for Son of Ingagi, it's like, I don't know if it just didn't really bother them that much, or if maybe they're kind of reclaiming the title in some way, if the writer or, I don't know, because we'll get into like the source material for this later, but basically it didn't, Ingagi was just kind of this awful film from the 30s that was a big success.
How well did tonight's film do? Like, did they ride on just the name?
Well, I mean, again, the big difference between the two films, obviously, is the fact that tonight's film, being a race film, was only being shown in black theaters, right?
Okay.
Communities where, black communities exclusively.
So it didn't make $4 million.
Not at all. And I mean, the only kind of vague connection is the idea that Ingagi in the movie, whatever they say, whatever language it is wrong, but that it's an African word for gorilla. And I think it's in a Rwandan language that Ingagi is a word for gorilla. So that's kind of it. That's kind of where, like in the whole thing with, the ape creature in tonight's movie. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember his name. Keep wanting to say Ingina, but it's not Ingina. It's something like that. Yeah. But it's not Gina. I can't remember. But anyway, like there's really no connection. They just kind of took two interesting titles and mashed them together to kind of get butts in seats. And hey, again, we've had plenty of misleading titles on this show. Let's not even get into it. But I mean, basically, this was, like I said, it only played in black theaters. It didn't play for mainstream white audiences. What mainstream audiences saw in terms of black representation during the 40s, was just the stereotypical roles: servants, maids. When it was horror movies, it was, kind of like voodoo, zombie related things. You're not getting like tonight's movie where it's just black people as the main characters.
Just people.
They're just people. Yeah, you're not getting that. They're being demeaned in some way. And even like apparently even the movie King Kong was kind of like spawned by the success of Ingagi. Like the maker, the studio behind King Kong saw this success of Ingagi and was like, oh, even though it's the Great Depression, the studio's losing a lot of money, let's pour everything we have into this because it'll probably be a huge hit. And it was. But even King Kong kind of furthers some, it definitely furthers some racist stereotypes. And that the horror noir documentary is really interesting, kind of breaking those stereotypes down, and kind of how in the 30s and the 40s, it was, the black representation was stereotypical roles. They said in the 50s and the 60s, black people really didn't have any representation in like science fiction movies, horror movies. And they said, if anything, it was almost like the monsters in those films were metaphors for like the other, right?
Yeah.
And that's what that documentary does a great job of kind of breaking down the way that, kind of over time, what the representation of black people in horror was. And in the 50s and 60s, there was really nothing until you have the groundbreaking Night of the Living Dead in 1968, which, like, after tonight's film, that is the next time that you get a black lead in a horror movie, basically.
That's a bit later.
It's a lot bit later. Tonight's film is really the only race film that can really be called a true like horror film in the sense of like what we'll see out of Poverty Row after, right? So it isn't until Night of the Living Dead that you have a lead. The lead character is a black man, which was totally not by accident, but that was not in the script. It was not a role written for a black man. According to the director, this was just the best actor, right? So that's going to be the first thing that we're going to see during the break. Is I was going to show the trailer for Night of the Living Dead, but you don't see a lot of the character's name is Ben. The actor's name is Dwayne Jones. You don't see a lot of him in the trailer. So I took a little bit of, he's got this like monologue.
Okay.
So that's what we're going to see a little bit of. And it's great, it's just kind of great representation of that character in the movie and how he is just a normal character dealing with this zombie apocalypse. Is just like, he's kind of scarred by it, but he's trying to survive. And he's really great at it. The movie's great. We will see it on the show, but I'm saving it. Who knows? I'll maybe save it for the very end, the very last episode. We'll go out on top. But that really kind of broke new ground. And then in the 70s, you got the blaxploitation film and blaxploitation horror, which is kind of like a mixed bag, like kind of a double-edged sword of, there's black representation, but it's still kind of feeding into stereotypes, right?
Yeah.
And so the second trailer we're going to see is for Blackula, which was the first blaxploitation horror film and considered by many to probably be the best. And it's a hokey title, but it really does take the story of Dracula and kind of adapt it into this tale about an African prince who met with Count Dracula to try to stop the slave trade, and then Dracula bit him, turned him into a vampire, and then like 100 years later, his coffin is opened and he like is transported to New York City or somewhere in the United States and starts kind of taking over. And it's a fun film. Again, the lead, William Marshall as Blackula, he's amazing. It had a black director. And so it really was a game changer, and you had tons of blaxploitation films, which we've seen the trailers for before, but we're gonna get this clip from Night of the Living Dead and then the trailer for Blackula, and then when we come back, we'll get into the exciting middle of Son of Ingagi. So stick around, we'll be right back.
Yeah, this room looks pretty secure. If we have to, we can run in here and board up the doors. Won't be long before those things be back pounding their way in here. They're afraid now. They're afraid of fire. I found that out. You know a place back down the road called Beekman's? Beekman's Diner? Anyhow, that's where I found that truck I have out there. There's a radio in the truck. I had jumped in to listen to it when a big gasoline truck came screaming right across the road with there must have been 10, 15 of those things chasing after it, grabbing and holding on. Now, I didn't see them at first. I could just see that the truck was moving in a funny way. Those things were catching up to it. The truck went right across the road. Slammed on my brakes to keep from hitting it myself. It went right through the guardrail. I guess the driver must have cut off the road into that gas station by Beekman's Diner. It went right through the billboard, ripped over a gas pump, and never stopped moving. By now, it was like a moving bonfire. Didn't know if the truck was going to explode or what. Could still hear the man screaming. This thing is just backing away from it. I looked back at the diner to see if there was anyone there who could help me. It was when I noticed that the entire place had been encircled. There wasn't a sign of life left except by now there were no more screams. I realized that I was alone with 50 or 60 of those things, just standing there, staring at me. I started to drive. I just plowed right through them. They didn't move, they didn't run or just stood there, staring at me. Just wanted to crush them. They scattered through the air like bugs.
And we are back. So it was a clip from Night of the Living Dead and the trailer for Blackula. And yeah, you like that slow-mo shot there.
I did. I felt like something like The Shining or something.
There was an interesting story in the horror noir documentary where the director of Blackula talks about how he knew he wanted to do that shot in slow motion, but back in those days you needed a special camera, like a special slow motion camera. And that was American International was like the big studio that like Roger Corman made all the Edgar Allan Poe movies for. Like they were a big indie studio at the time, so they like had access to that kind of equipment, but like they didn't want to give it to him. And he said it was like they kept saying no, and then on the very morning that they were like shooting that scene, a truck pulled up with the camera and like, gave him the camera to be able to get that like kind of iconic shot in the movie. And yeah, and I saw that movie or like pieces of it on TV when I was a kid, and that part definitely scared me for sure. Like it's definitely an effective use of slow motion. But those blaxploitation movies, kind of like the race films in the way that they were produced. They were produced for a black audience, but they were made mostly by white producers. Or, even the major studios made blaxploitation films. I mean, they were kind of made for a general audience, but the target audience was really, the black community. And it didn't stop them from trading in a lot of stereotypes. I mean, again, you go look at Blackenstein or Dr. Black and Mr. Hyde or Abby, which was the Black Exorcist, which is a movie that you won't find anywhere because Warner Brothers literally kind of sued it out of existence because they were afraid it was going to like infringe on the success of The Exorcist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it was kind of a blaxploitation play on The Exorcist, but it has its own like problems with kind of troubling like stereotypes. So the blaxploitation films were, in one sense, it was like kind of putting a black like artist in the spotlight, but at the same time it was still kind of riddled with the Hollywood stereotypes. Didn't really break out of those until later, and we'll talk about that at our next break. But we're about to get into the exciting middle of Son of Ingagi here, and so far, we've got this married couple. They're already experiencing a little bit of hardship. The husband's already out of a job on their wedding night.
Yeah, it's been a day of highs and lows.
It really has for this poor couple. And then you've got Dr. Jackson, the enigmatic Dr. Jackson.
Up to something.
Up to something. We don't quite know yet, but she's
changing her will on the day the foundry burns down.
Yeah, suspicious. Well, that's why we need to get the detective up in here.
Yeah.
Good old Detective Nelson. Let's see if he can crack the case. Yeah. All right. Anything before we get into it, Evan?
I think that lady's the Whispering Shadow.
I think you're right. I that's what we really needed. We needed a crossover.
Yeah. Do we have an update on that Twitter poll?
Oh yeah. Well, we got a poll on Twitter and a poll on YouTube. I'm gonna kind of combine them at the end when all's said and done.
Yeah.
But we've got our
out there watching the Wednesday episodes.
Yeah. If anybody watching right now, if you're keeping track of our Whispering Shadow mini-sodes, we've got a poll live on YouTube and on our Twitter page right now. If you want to vote on who you think the Whispering Shadow is, and I could only do 4 selections, but if your prime suspect isn't on the list, sound off in the comments. Let us know your theories.
Do you know if the Whispering Shadow is one of those 4?
I don't know.
Okay, so.
No, I have no clue. I don't want to know. Even though this is
So it could just be none of them.
Yeah, even though this is almost a 90-year-old piece of media, I don't want to know the answer to the mystery.
No spoilers.
Please don't spoil this for us. Even though it would be very easy to go on. I've been on the Wikipedia page so many times, and I have managed to avoid spoiling it for myself. So.
Man's got some self-control.
Well, you have to have a little bit of discipline if you want to enjoy life. I want to enjoy the end of the Whispering Shadow. So we'll see if it turns out to be none of the suspects I put on the poll, then I'll just be pleasantly surprised. We'll just say that. All right.
Well, all right.
On that note, we're going to go ahead and get into the exciting middle of Son of Ingagi right now.
Now she's giving it to me.
I guess she loved your father very dearly. But she must have been a lot older than he was.
I think older men, not too old, always make the best husband.
What?
Oh, you're just saying that because I'm older than you are.
No, I'm not, dear. I'm saying it because it's true.
Saying I picked you because you're
right.
older than I am.
What do you say we turn in?
What is it, dear?
I don't know.
There's nothing on it, but there's something inside.
Well, where did it come from?
We found out what was in the box
I
that
bet it belongs to that
Doc
old
Jackson
doctor.
gave her.
But it wasn't there when she left.
You sure of that?
I'm positive. I wonder what's inside.
I don't know, but I'll find out. My secret is a message from the grave.
Seek and ye shall find. Knock and the door shall be open unto you.
Ooh.
Why, that's in the Bible.
Oh, riddle. Oh,
Yeah.
biblical.
And look,
Evan.
this gets her just like that locket she gave you.
Oh, it's a locket. Okay.
That's right.
Okay. It's all coming
Oh,
together.
she's giving him a little scavenger hunt. Here we go. Now we're seeing some mad scientist action. All she needed was the smock.
What's the matter with you and Gina?
That's all it takes to
Stop
be
that
considered a
noise
mad
now.
scientist.
Ingina? Is that what you said?
Ingina, that's it. Ingina. Which kind of sounds like Ingagi, but
Yeah.
Ingina is it's different.
What's the matter with bad Dan? Now look what you've done. I told you not to play with that knife.
Uh-oh.
Now you cut your finger. Wait a minute, I'll fix it for you. There, boy. Hold still now, it won't hurt you. There now. Now, that didn't hurt. Stop. Now, wait a minute till I tie it up. Hold still now. Stop it. Stop it. You leave this on. You do that again. Stop. Now, go ahead. Go on now. Don't do it again.
Oh, come on. Ah. Uh-oh. A taste for blood.
Huh?
I've got it.
You get a taste for blood off of your own blood?
I've got it.
Wouldn't that just make you want to eat
Greatest
yourself?
discovery in medicine since Louis Pasteur.
Whoa. Greater than Pasteur?
Gina, this is it. If it does what I think it will, I've done more for humanity than anyone else on earth.
Oh my God. What is this?
Don't know why I should worry about humanity. Humanity's never done anything for me.
Oh.
You either, my poor dumb friend. I've given the best years of my life.
He
to
scared your
help
brother.
others.
What do you mean he hasn't done anything for you?
Well, there must be some reward for those who give. I'll probably get mine in heaven, if I ever get there. You too, Ingina. Stop.
Maybe she's not a mad scientist. Maybe she's just a scientist. Although, if you're keeping a monster in your basement, whether your intentions are good or bad, does it still make you mad? Interesting question.
Can you be an ethical mad scientist?
That just sounds like a comedy sketch. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
I knew it.
I love the picture.
Whoa.
Get out. Get out.
Oh shit.
Oh.
Oh. Ooh, nice. I like that. Symbolism of ink for blood. Oh no.
She's not home, Bob.
Oh, there must be somebody home. The lights are...
Don't go in there.
Come on. Dr. Jackson.
Oh, did he move
Dr.
her body?
Jackson.
Honey, we shouldn't have come. It's late.
There's something funny about this business. I'm going to find out what it is.
I wonder what happened.
I don't know.
Uh-oh.
Bob, what's the matter?
Now, you stay here.
But what is it?
Never mind. Wait a minute.
Whatever you do, don't look behind.
Now, give me the police. The homicide detail, please. Oh, we've been through all that.
Yeah, and we're going through it some more, too.
Take a look at this, Nelson. Maybe this will enlighten you.
Oh, so you're a total stranger around here, huh? I give, devise, bequeath to Eleanor Ruth Lindsay all my property, both real and... It is provided, however, that the said real property must never be sold, given away, or otherwise relinquished, and that the said Eleanor Ruth Lindsay shall occupy and live in the house at 1313 Wellman Road as her home as long as she should live. And... So you didn't know the old doctor, huh? Yet she made her will in favor of your wife, and it's dated this very day.
Honestly, Mr. Nelson, I don't know what you're talking about.
It's just a huge
And he
coincidence.
didn't do it either.
And he
Boy,
didn't do
you're gonna
it
have a lot
either.
of explaining to do before you go
And
on
never
your
got
honeymoon.
caught, me either.
All right, boys. Take him away.
Take him away, boys. Wow, you gotta love cops are incompetent everywhere.
Is that you, Bob?
Honey?
Well, you just knocked yourself right on this picture.
So do they not know that there's a monster in the hidden basement?
they also inherited
Now,
that.
honey, what's the trouble?
Bob Lindsay, if you don't stay out of this icebox, I'm going to tear you to pieces.
It's kind of turned into a haunted house kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, honey, what are you talking about?
Last week you ate all the roast duck that was left, bones and all. Looney.
You ate all those
Bob
bones.
hasn't been dead since the family burned. And that, too, has made it very hard. And the finance company is threatening to take our new car.
Yes, that's what I thought. Where is Bob? I was hoping to find him here.
He'll be here in just a moment. He just went to the market just around the corner.
Well, that's fine. I want to talk to you two about giving up this old place and moving into better quarters.
Yes, but what about the will?
Don't worry about that. I'm the executor, you know, and I can take care of that very easily. In fact, I've already made a deal for this place, and all we need is your signature.
I would have to talk that over with Bob. Oh, excuse me, please. I have something in on the stove cooking. You just sit right down and make yourself at home. Bob will be back in a jiffy.
Yeah, the highs and lows really continuing for this couple.
Yeah, my goodness.
He get married, he loses his job, but then
Now
they inherit a house.
Yeah.
All in one day.
Now they got this scheming lawyer in the mix. He's definitely up to something.
Don't do it.
Oh. Get it on. Bang a go. Get it on. What did he have? Couldn't tell.
The bones.
The bones?
From the, what was it, roast beef?
Oh, yeah. The slow turn. Slowly I turned. Ooh, I love this shot.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Is that you, Bob?
Why are all these murders happening in my house? Murder house.
So who's gonna execute the will now?
That's a good question.
Here you are, madam.
Thanks. Did you see Attorney Bradshaw?
No, where is he?
He's right in the sitting room.
Well, that's funny. I didn't see him. Well, I'll go right in and apologize.
You're gonna love like old-timey like manners, you know.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I completely walked by you. I feel like such a fool.
I've made such a faux pas. I've snubbed my lawyer.
Gosh, I hope you don't think I'm
It happened again. There's something about this desk. Anybody? We've got a cursed
We're
desk.
gonna have to redecorate this whole sitting room. We need to gut this whole thing.
Anybody who sits at this desk dies.
Prominent lawyer slain. Oh my god.
Yes, sir. 1313 Wellman Road. Same house, Chief. Yes, sir. No, sir.
Alas, poor Yorick. Why does this guy have
It
a
had been
stone
made
on
out,
his
but
desk?
hadn't been signed.
I think he's at the house.
Okay.
Oh, they're
right.
both here. I got them right here looking at me. They couldn't get away if they wanted to. Yes, sir. We searched this old house from attic to basement. That is, only there ain't no basement. Well, his neck was broken and 2 ribs caved in and his back twisted. I was thinking that maybe he committed suicide until I found out that both arms was busted, and then I couldn't figure it out.
Both arms were busted. Jeez.
No, sir. No, sir, Chief.
He broke both of his arms.
No, sir. I don't want to go back in uniform.
Are you blockhead? Don't you know?
Yes, sir.
You blockhead. That's one of my favorite old-timey insults.
Yes. Thanks, Chief.
You blockhead.
I was going to leave Jones here with you folks, but the Chief thinks this case needs a real detective on it, so I'm going to stick around. You can go now, Jones.
I'm sorry, we haven't got an extra room to put you up in, Mr. Nelson.
You can sleep at this
We can
desk.
spread a blanket on the sofa and you can stay there.
Oh, don't worry about that, my boy. The law never sleeps. You folks better run along and get some rest. I'm going to take it easy for a while and do a little thinking. Good night.
Good night, Mr.
Good night, Mr. Nelson.
Not gonna sleep.
Yeah. The police are being awfully nice about this situation. Like, I feel like if, you know, the cops show up and there's just somebody dead in your living room, they're probably just gonna arrest you, right? How do you explain that?
Yeah, you.
Gosh, I just don't know how
I
this
couldn't tell
dead
ya.
guy got in my living room.
Oh, is this the brother? Dr. Jackson's brother? He's looking for probably that locket she gave her.
What's the matter, Bob?
What?
Get him, Bob. Get him, Bob. Get him. Don't let him hurt you. Whoa.
And that is gonna take us to our second break. kind of hard to see what was going on there.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
I could see that the detective was asleep on the job.
Yeah, well, you know, the law never sleeps except when they're feeling sleepy.
Oh boy, he's going back in uniform for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What a blockhead.
Yeah, there's a reason that Chief called him such a terrible, terrible name. Exciting middle of Son of Ingagi. What do we think, Evan?
Well, I mean, things are ramping up here. We've got our this. it almost feels like a bit of a jump that like suddenly they're just in this house now.
It does.
Like they've they've moved location, but yeah, I wasn't really sure like where the the conflict was gonna go in the beginning.
Right.
So this definitely answers that question.
Right. Yeah.
Survive the horror house.
Yeah. Yeah. Which it's funny that you put it in those words because the source material for this was a story by the screenwriter Spencer Williams entitled House of Horrors. So a story that he wrote, and then he wrote the script based off that story.
Come to think of it, isn't this just like almost the plot of Barbarian? There's a secret basement and the monster comes out at night.
Yeah, that's honestly a very good point. Yeah, it just right. You know, the gong is a nice touch here. I
do like that.
Like that.
Yeah.
I appreciate the gong action we're getting. But yeah, I mean, it's funny because it, you know, we got a body count of 2, and like it's definitely kind of a jump that all of a sudden they've inherited this house and all that. But at the same time, they did establish some character history.
Yeah, I mean, I think it works. Like they laid the groundwork. I mean, I think it's it's a little sad that this scientist lady, I mean, you know, slain by her own creation. Didn't, I mean, I don't know if she was really up to bad.
Yeah, not necessarily a mad scientist, maybe more of a bad scientist.
Like a sad scientist.
Sad, bad scientist.
So moved by this gesture of being invited to this wedding, she decides to leave her house, her gold, and her monster to
this beautiful couple. But again, you know, she had a fling with the girl's father.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So maybe there's more to that.
Yeah.
To that drama, that backstory. You know, maybe she's really your mother. I don't know. It's a twist.
Well, it's a little too late to make up for lost time.
Yeah, unfortunately, not. I mean, she can enjoy the house. You know, if nothing else. I gotta be thankful to have that nice, big, scary house to live in.
Yeah, sheesh, what a wedding present.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to tell what the timeline has been, but yeah, if it's only been like 2 or 3 days, then what a whirlwind for this couple. Seriously, been through a lot.
Yeah, sheesh, maybe they just should have went to Hawaii.
It might have been a better idea, I think. You know, than Dr. Jackson. She would have just, you know. She would never have, you know, who knows? She
this whole thing
would have been avoided.
Yeah, the butterfly effect of the butterfly flaps his wings on Honolulu, then a scientist doesn't get killed by a monster. And
right.
Where are we? New York?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure where we're at. I will tell you, I mean, she should have kept her super great experiment locked up.
Or at least not have a bunch of like deadly chemicals and stuff just out where
that's
he
what
can
I'm saying. She
grab
should have
them.
just left them out.
You got to child-proof your lab, lady.
She, you know, that's what I'm saying. Maybe she's more of a bad scientist.
Yeah,
because she should have known better. But apparently, this was gonna be the greatest contribution to mankind ever.
Yeah, well, that's
and then it got drank.
So she never said what it was, though.
No, she never said.
It's just sure was great, whatever it was.
I mean, what did pasteurizing?
Pasteurizing.
What's better than that? That was her. That was her kind of level. That was what she was equating it to.
Yeah, she was gonna put the germs back in milk, but she's gonna make them delicious.
Delicious germs.
Yeah.
That's definitely a big contribution to mankind. That would have been
some chocolate bacteria.
Ooh, sign me up for that. Yeah. I don't know if it's chocolate, I'll eat it. I'm not worried about it. But yeah, I mean, it's so far it's been plenty to kind of keep you engaged. So
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see how it is.
Excited for the ending.
How it concludes, but again, we've seen a little bit more of the Detective Nelson, who obviously not a very effective detective, but it is what it
Kind of a
is.
defective detective.
I think that's a movie or some kind of an effective detective. Yeah, he's, but again, I mean, it's just kind of a common trope for the law to be buffoonish, That's what
For decades and decades and decades.
Yeah. I mean, everybody can agree on that, no matter what you're, you can agree. No, I mean, that is a funny thing though. Like, the writer of tonight's movie, Spencer Williams, plays that cop. So it's funny that you give yourself the comedic role. But I mean, that's where he started. That's kind of where he came out of. But he was a pioneering black filmmaker. He did like write and got an opportunity to direct like a comedy short like in the early 30s. He tried to kind of like establish his own like kind of film service. I don't know that really like a newsreel service or something. I don't know that really worked out, but and then he basically appeared in a couple race films that were westerns and wrote one called Harlem Rides the Range, which was like a sequel to another one.
Okay.
And I think he acted in that too. And then he got the opportunity to adapt his story House of Horrors into Son of Ingagi. And he didn't get to direct it, but the script for Son of Ingagi really impressed the distributor, Alfred Sack. And so Sack was like, all right, I want to hire you to write and direct another one of these movies. So right after Son of Ingagi, he got the chance to do a movie called The Blood of Jesus, which is actually, so it's a fantasy drama, which is in the National Film Registry, like the Library of Congress, National Film Registry. It was added in 91. It was the first race film to be added. And he wrote, directed that, and wrote and directed a handful of these race films throughout the 40s until probably I think around 1949. He'd made a handful of these movies. Among black audiences, they were popular. And again, the Blood of Jesus is, it's a religious type of, it deals with religious subject matter. And he did a few different films. I think two more after that were like kind of had religious themes in them. And, but he ended up, kind of the work dried up, and some of those films were considered lost until like the 80s. They were discovered in a warehouse in Texas, and I don't know if this film was among those movies, but so his work like survives. And there was like, he was basically one of like two major like multifaceted black filmmakers active at the time. The other was Oscar Micheaux, who like he was a self-financed filmmaker. Like, he financed all his own stuff, and he made movies from the silent era all the way through to the sound era. And again, it was the same thing of, just like a very, like, usually like very free of stereotypes in terms of how they're depicting black life in America. Usually it was contemporary stuff. And so Oscar Micheaux and Spencer Williams, the writer of tonight's movie, is kind of considered one of the early pioneering black filmmakers. And he got a little bit more recognition, not necessarily, it's kind of controversial now, but he was in the first TV sitcom with an all-black cast, and that was a CBS TV adaptation of Amos and Andy, which was a racist radio show with these two white guys who were doing these, it started as a minstrel show. And so they would do these, really, really racist voices. And so then when it came time to make the show for television, they wanted to just do blackface on the show, and the network was like, no, we need to. And they made a movie in the 30s where an Amos and Andy movie where it was them in blackface. And so when the TV show got made, Spencer Williams was hired as Andy, and that show was on for 2 years and 70 something episodes. And I mean, history making in that it was the first TV sitcom with a black cast, but it still carried over a lot of like stereotypes from the show, racist tropes from the show. So it's got a controversial legacy. It's not broadcast or shown anymore. So he kind of, he's kind of like known almost more for that than the fact that he was an early director, and an early kind of pioneering black filmmaker, but he was. And so we're getting to see kind of the movie that started things for him in terms of being able to direct like passion projects. Son of Ingagi was a launch pad for Spencer Williams. So nice to celebrate that. And then, I mean, again, like tonight's movie is considered a black horror film with a very kind of straightforward depiction. It's not leaning into as many stereotypes as like a mainstream Hollywood film. And as we were talking about in the last break, that was not what blaxploitation was. Blaxploitation kind of traded on a lot of stereotypes. But you started to get later examples of black horror films made by black directors, really for black audiences, and not kind of by white producers who are like, all right, like, really lean into these stereotypes. It's kind of these creative people who like Spencer Williams who are like, oh, I've got an original horror idea like this. So first trailer that we're going to see is for a movie which also stars Dwayne Jones from Night of the Living Dead. It was made, I think, like 10 years after Night of the Living Dead. And it's called Ganja and Hess, and it's actually a vampire movie, but it's not a blaxploitation film. It's like an artistic kind of indie, almost art house vampire movie that really like touches on like blood as a metaphor and kind of delves into kind of like black culture and kind of really looks at things through a way deeper lens than something like Blackula. Like much more meditative and poetic in terms of how it's kind of exploring race through horror and the black experience through horror. And it's not a movie that's really well known. I mean, I've watched it once, and it's probably a movie I need to watch a few times to really understand it, because it is like really symbolic, really like there's a lot going on. But it's definitely worth checking out. And then the other trailer that we're gonna see is for a movie from the 90s, which we talked about how blaxploitation 70s. Well, in the 80s is when you got more of like the stereotypes of like your token black character who gets killed off at some point in the movie. Now, the trope of the black character dying first is not necessarily a true trope, and they touch on that in the horror noir documentary. Like, there's actually not as many examples as you would think of a black character dying first. They'll die, they'll get killed eventually, but not usually the first to die. And so then in the 80s, you got a lot of that where you started finally seeing inclusion, but they weren't getting any character development. There wasn't any substance with this. So that was like most of the 80s. And it wasn't until the 90s that you started getting these original stories where black characters were at the center. They were the main characters. So the second trailer we're going to see is for a movie called Death by Temptation, which is essentially about like a succubus, I guess, who like this young religious guy goes to visit his cousin in New York City and then gets kind of caught in the web of this succubus. And so like everybody's got to team
big
up.
City succubus.
Dude, it is a good movie. It's wild. It's made by Spike Lee's, like, a cinematographer that Spike Lee collaborated with a lot early in his career. And it's just really, like, stylized in terms of, like, lighting and color and shadow and makeup. And Samuel L. Jackson is, like, in it. He's like he's got like a cameo he's really good in, and it's really atmospheric. And I've seen it once and I really enjoyed it, so it's something I'll definitely watch again. But then after that, you get these other things, like Tales from the Hood, and I think there was a movie Snoop Dogg was in called Bones in, like, the early 2000s. You started getting, like, kind of breaking away from, like, it's funny, every, like, 20 years the tropes kind of, like, got built up and broken down, and then some kind of new form of, like, how the black community was represented in horror. It evolved, like, every few decades. And so these trailers are for some more nuanced examples of really original stories in black horror that don't necessarily trade on stereotypes. And this is a short break, Evan, I'll tell you. So,
Okay.
so we'll need to hustle a little bit. So we're gonna get these two trailers, and then when we come back, we'll get into the exciting conclusion of Son of Ingagi. So stick around, we'll be right back.
The only perversions that can be comfortably condemned are the perversions of others. I will persist and survive without God's or society's sanction. I will not be tortured. I will not be punished. I will not be guilty.
He's not a criminal. He's a victim.
His destiny had been foretold. Its fate had been forewarned. He did not know that something so sweet could be so evil. Now, the fate of mankind hangs in the balance as Kadeem Hardison, TV's Dwayne Wayne.
This honey I met the other night was bad. Bad. Super bad.
And Bill Nunn from Do the Right Thing get busy in the first contemporary horror thriller of its kind. James Bond III's Death by Temptation. She's every man's dream and your worst nightmare.
She leaves with men, and you never see them again.
I'm on a mission and nobody can cramp my style. So if you can't get down, stay at the crib for a while. I don't mean to be cruel and know my heart.
Death by Temptation, a new movie from Troma. With new music by Ashford and Simpson, Melba Moore, Najee, and Freddie Jackson.
And we are back. So the trailers for Ganja and Hess and Death by Temptation. And yeah, as you can tell, Death by Temptation, very stylized. The canted angles and the wide angles and all the, kind of, I like over stylized horror. I always have enjoyed when, I mean, again, we love German expressionism.
Oh,
it's
it makes it memorable.
It definitely does. Anytime you can have a kind of unique visual style, it just elevates the movie in a whole other way. And yeah, I mean, so both of those movies really are original and kind of avoid stereotypes for the most part. Death by Temptations kind of came at an interesting time, kind of on the heels of the AIDS crisis, and so I don't know. It deals with some interesting things. But I mean, as we got into the 2000s, and then eventually, Get Out was kind of the game changer in terms of.
Yeah, I was gonna say the modern kind of the you're talking about shifts
Right.
between kind of almost generations and.
Yeah, Get Out really kind of took it beyond. It kind of took it to a place where these stories could be recognized industry wide and like in terms of box office, but also in terms of awards recognition, like winning an Academy Award for, a horror screenplay, like at all. But one that was written by a black man, it was really kind of a game changer. And so, yeah, I mean, if like all this history has interested you, I definitely suggest checking out the horror noir documentary on Shudder, because it really just kind of covers this whole history really well. And I mean, it goes back to, again, it breaks down the tropes really well, like going back to like Birth of a Nation, how that kind of really, unfortunately, set a lot of bad precedents. And over time, it takes you from that to like Get Out, and how kind of finally you got equal representation, if not even better quality, kind of storytelling by the time you get out, and so this movie that we're watching tonight, just unique in terms of representation, but in terms of a horror movie, from this time, I'm pretty interested. I'm pretty engaged. It's keeping me.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this kind of shakes out.
Yeah, I mean, so far we got 2 bodies.
Who's left? Who's left?
Not
for
really
the monster
many.
to
I don't think I don't want the company, like the man or the wife, to die.
I hope not. That'd be bad.
Detective Nelson to die. So I don't know. I don't really. I guess the brother. He just broke in, right?
Yeah.
And the lawyer's already dead. Yeah. Dang.
Yeah. Maybe the monster's gonna be good in the end. He's gonna take out the brother.
Could be. I mean, it didn't seem bad until he drank the thing.
Just he's gotta let that kind of get through his system.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could tell it upset his tummy. You could tell when he rubbed his tummy that it was not good for angina. But what are you gonna do? Hopefully it'll wear off. We'll see. Anything before we get into the exciting conclusion of this, Evan?
I want to know where this there's gold, right? Isn't that what they said?
That's
Has anybody checked under her mattress?
Oh, that should have been the first place. It doesn't seem like they've really looked for it at all.
Huh?
Like, they got the note, they have the necklace, they're like, oh, and then they get the house, and they
they already got the house. They said, you know what? We don't need any gold. We're good.
We're fine. We don't need. Come on, all the pieces are there. We have to solve the scavenger hunt. We'll see what they can do. All right. On that note, we're gonna go ahead and get into the exciting conclusion of Son of Ingagi right now. Nice. There you go.
Here he goes, leaping into action.
Charge!
What's going on here? Who's keeping all that noise?
It's a burglar.
What burglar? Where? When?
He went out of that door.
What hit me anyway?
I did. I thought I was hitting the burglar.
Oh. Hey, what's the idea? There ain't no burglar out there. Oh, my head. Yeah, wait a minute. Let me help you. All right. Right over here. All right, now, you'll be all right in a minute.
But the burglar, he got away.
Oh, you just take it easy. Don't you worry about no burglar.
If there's any burglars around here, I'll find them.
Sure you will.
Time to get a little more shut-eye.
Whoa.
As the door turneth upon its hinges, so doth the slothful upon his bed. Proverbs 26:14.
Man, that was a direct shot at him. What, he came out without the gong? What are the rules?
Gotta go raid the fridge again.
The old midnight snack raid.
So, what's for dinner, guys?
Got any leftovers? Cooking up in the fridge. Oh no, the detective's gonna get to the leftovers first. Nothing for Ingina. The old icebox. Oh yeah, gonna really get my detective brain going with a sandwich. Oh my god, it's getting Scooby-Doo with it. That is a shaggy, like, layered, like,
Yep.
It has, you know, you gotta have 75 layers.
It's way too big to fit in your mouth.
It's gotta be about the size of your head. Otherwise, there's no way it's gonna fill you out.
This is a Scooby-Doo bit. Making a sandwich.
What did he put on it?
The monsters.
Got a hot sauce, vinegar,
catsup.
Catsup. Oh yeah, get it.
Yep. Just what I wanted.
Yeah,
my favorite.
Give me that. Bing.
Someone burgled my sandwich.
Yeah, there is a burglar in here. Now I know for sure. Because I've been robbed. Uh-oh. You're going down in Dr. Jackson's lair. You're not gonna find gold down there. You're gonna find something much worse. Round two. Oh my god. He's just eating them out of their house and home.
Oh my.
Stop it.
I'm still hungry.
Something screwy around here.
Oh my gosh. Jeez, what a bit. Didn't expect this level of comedy from this horror movie.
No, I've never seen the monster eating the sandwich of the in-depth detective. That's definitely a first, and I can't say I'm mad about it.
All right, third time's the charm.
No, they don't have any more left. You've already eaten everything. What are you gonna make it out of now? What do you have? A piece of what? Wow. Oh, shit. Somebody found the gold. Alright, Gina, do your stuff. I like that shot.
Yeah.
Shadow work back there with the stairs. Oh no.
See, you don't like the taste of lead, Mr. Jungle Man, do you? Well, you better get used to it, because I'm going to feed you up plenty of it.
Oh my god.
You're a tough old bird, ain't you? Well, I'm going to send you where it's nice and warm. Warmer than it was in Africa, where you came from.
Bob!
Ah, classic twin beds.
What's the matter?
I thought I heard some shots.
I don't hear anything. It must have been a car backfired. Oh, my head. Come on, honey. Let's get some sleep.
I heard a car backfire 6 times in the basement.
Well, it certainly didn't bother the detective, even if he was sleeping on an empty stomach. And we know Ingina is plenty full, even if he's leaking out a little bit of blood. Ooh, I love it. Thanks for the sandwiches earlier.
Hey, Rumi, can you drive me to the hospital?
Oh. Yeah, I forgot he's all hurt. This is your guys' house, and I don't know what kind of insurance you have, but you might want to call your agent.
No, don't go towards the light. Just go hop in her bed, take a nap. Oh man, right out, no scream. Out like a light.
What do I do now? I'm the one that's injured here. Okay, bro. Time to wake up. Is that a head?
Yeah.
Did Gina rip the head off of the brother?
Quick, gotta get dressed first.
He can't be indecent, Evan. He has to at least put on a robe.
I can't go downstairs in my pajamas.
Be so untoward of me.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Lab fire.
Oh, God. I can't tell you how many violations are going on in that lab, man.
So they inherited this house, are they about to lose it?
I think so.
Yeah. A dead man.
Easy come, easy go.
Yeah. No, not me. This is me talking to you. Well, you better send the whole force, and you better get here fast if you want me to wait for you.
Nelson, my wife's gone. She's disappeared. I've looked all over the place for her. Well, don't just stand there, man. Do something. Say something. She's disappeared.
Boy, she's lucky.
Oh, no.
The lab is very on fire.
You hear something?
You hear that? That's Eleanor's voice. You hear it?
Run!
Hey, look.
Look, the house is on fire.
shit, he's gonna take the whole wall down. Not scripted.
Who needs to solve the puzzle?
Eleanor, what happened? Are you hurt?
Having some trouble getting through that door.
Hey, you! You're under arrest! Come on, put out your hands! Hurry up!
What? Oh shit. Got him. Oh, nice. Well, it's kind of fucked up. He's gonna leave him in there to die.
God. Get burned to death.
Jeez. Poor Ingini. He didn't deserve that.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
There now, honey. You're all right.
Nice.
All our troubles are going up in smoke.
What about the gold?
Oh, but Bob, everything we've got is gone. Our furniture,
Still have each other.
our clothes.
Don't worry, dear. I'm almost glad it's over with. Anything's better than living in that horrible house.
What happened?
Mister, if you can tell me anything that didn't happen, I'll put in with you.
Where's Nelson?
He's in there, I'm afraid.
Oh shit, he did die.
Wow.
Damn.
Poor Nelson.
Poor Nelson.
One of my best men. A brave officer.
He made the best
and
sandwiches.
a brilliant detective.
Oh my god.
He made it.
Thanks, Chief. How did you get out?
Never mind how. If you'd have seen what I saw when I come to, man, oh man. And I was gonna rest that thing. I'd have been here a lot sooner. But these things are heavy.
What are those?
Well, they is...
Never mind. Where'd you get them?
Well, I was...
Shut up! Who does it belong to?
Sing a song. Shut up.
Well, here's your new furniture, honey. And a lot of new clothes.
And here's our new home.
Nelson, you get back to hand out your report.
The end.
Oh, come on, let's get some music. All right. That was Son of Ingagi. What did we think, Evan?
That was a fun movie. I really enjoyed that.
That was, yeah, I mean, pretty engaging, pretty...
Like the characters, the nice fire at the end. That's always nice.
I mean, again, any horror movie that can end with a fiery climax, if you have the budget to do a fiery climax, you can't be mad at the movie, in my opinion, because it's the hardest thing to try to do, And they pulled it off.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not a it's a pretty low budget movie, but it didn't really show that much. It didn't. I don't think the cracks really showed that bad.
There were enough artistic flourishes to kind of make up for what was maybe still even then a little creaky, or a little kind of technically rough around the edges. I think that we saw some good shadow work there, some interesting close-ups, some camera movement. I mean, again, things that we don't even get on the standard Poverty Row horror movie. I mean, every once in a while with Poverty Row, you get a director that is trying to, add some flourishes in. But it to me, for this being before all those Poverty Row movies, I'm kind of surprised how much it is like, it just fits in. It could be a standard horror movie with any of those like Poverty Row horror movies.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
it is,
yeah.
to me, it's on the same level.
I think
feel
so,
like.
yeah.
If not better. And it's got the things that like standard horror tropes, like like the fiery climax and I mean, there's a lot that it's just like any other horror movie. It wasn't. I mean, it's funny because I think that we've seen movies like this after this. And so to see knowing this was before the Ape Man, this was before, God, I don't know, I'm trying to think about more. I mean, we've seen so many of those ridiculous Poverty Row horror movies. And I mean, even, the makeup here for the monster wasn't great. It wasn't anything to write home about.
Yeah, I think that was maybe the one thing I wish was maybe a little better, the monster costume.
I mean,
yeah.
To me, it's better than the makeup that they, that like Lugosi had on him for Ape Man. Now, I mean, obviously that it works because you just have Lugosi. Like in the center of it is Lugosi's face, and he's acting like Lugosi. But in terms of a makeup job, there wasn't a lot there. This at least like. There's like fur, not just like on the face, but also like the shoulders. He's kind of built out. And so
I thought his performance was pretty good.
I thought so too.
The costume not being the best.
Yeah, the actor Zach Williams. I don't know if he's any relation to Spencer Williams, the writer / Detective Nelson, but I mean, he didn't really have any other prominent. And he had some other credits, but nothing like super prominent. But yeah, I mean, that was a sympathetic performance. I thought, I kind of felt. I mean, again, monsters. You look at like Frankenstein. This kind of I see parallels to Frankenstein.
Yeah,
this,
I was
right?
definitely getting that kind of vibe.
And Frankenstein's
it's
monster.
sympathetic. I mean, think about how we reacted to him getting locked in that cell at the end.
Yeah, it was a little heart wrenching. It made you feel a little bad because it's like, well, he didn't deserve that. Yeah, and I mean, when I thought that they killed Detective Nelson, I was like, oh shit, like that's a move. And then pops out with a gold, but that's good too. That's good.
Yeah, talk about the ups and downs for this couple, just right up to the end.
Just constantly, every second, their fortune is good fortune, bad fortune, good fortune, bad fortune. It's constantly changing.
Feast or famine with these
Might
guys.
as well just be flipping a coin every 5 minutes to decide, is something good gonna happen to them, something bad, something's gonna happen.
Yeah, somebody call it groundhog.
Yeah, seriously, well, if they could do it all over again, probably wouldn't do anything different.
So what did they say? It was $20,000 worth of gold. Is that right?
Yes, yeah.
So what's that in
today's money? Well, $5 back then was like $100
something. So let's say like times 20.
Yeah. So I don't do math. You know this, Evan.
Well, I don't want to get this wrong, so we're gonna hand it over to the computer.
Oh, so you are relying on AI, huh?
Yeah. $400,000. Okay.
That's decent amount. That's like not $1 million,
Yeah, that's
it's a little bit of a paltry sum.
They could probably, replace their house.
Oh, they'd definitely be able to play that house.
Yeah, back then.
Oh yeah, they'll be just fine. I mean, but again, if that only took place over the span of like 4 or 5 days, then my goodness,
a really eventful week.
What a whirlwind for that couple. My goodness. Yeah, I mean, so Son of Ingagi, really a pretty solid movie.
I think so. Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. having not seen it before and not really knowing what to expect. I mean, I don't even think I've watched another race film before. So like it was definitely a little like it was like it was kind of an impactful thing to see a movie from this time with actually realistic, authentic representations of the black community and
Yeah,
not,
not
just the
minstrel characters.
stereotypical servant or the, you know, voodoo witch woman or whatever you normally got from Hollywood at this time. It was like nice to just kind of, to just get a pretty straightforward horror movie. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it was. It was just a straightforward horror movie. So I definitely enjoyed that. I'm glad that, glad that we were able to, kind of dig deeper into some history that we definitely don't. I mean, again, if you're fans of the show, if you're fans of classic horror movies in general, you know that the representation for the black community is almost nil. And when it's there, it's bad, or it's just culture being appropriated, or whatever the case may be. It's just not really authentic on most levels. And it's kind of just pushing certain outdated racist ideas. And yeah, I mean, it was good to be able to look at the history that existed outside of Hollywood, that obviously, there was more to it. There wasn't just what Hollywood was doing. There was I mean, anytime that there's a big, like, kind of mainstream uh kind of player in whatever industry, you're always going to have people who are trying to play to other niches that the big company is not playing to, and Hollywood wasn't playing to black audiences. So, these little people, little distributors who did, and that's how you got a movie like we got tonight. And it was a pretty unique thing. So it was nice. It was a good little celebration there. And of course, we're going to keep the celebrations going because next week is our season 8 finale. And of course, we're ending the season like we end every season on this show with a Bela Lugosi movie.
Hell
And
yeah.
that's how we always do it. And so this last episode of season 8 next Friday is going to be The Phantom Ship with Bela Lugosi. I think aka The Mystery of the Mary Celeste, or it's something like that. This is actually a British film from 1935. He went across the pond and made a few movies there during that time. But he made this, and he may not be like the star, and this may not be a totally full on explicit horror movie. It may be more mystery. But, Lugosi's got a lot of movies in the public domain, and we're gonna watch all of them. And they can't all be Invisible Ghost or The Phantom Creeps. Not Phantom Creeps. The Corpse Vanishes, or any movie where he plays a lead. Sometimes he's gotta be more supporting. He's got to take a little bit of a step back.
But a ship movie?
But it's a ship movie. It's about, kind of your classic men on a ship driven insane by, being on a ship.
Being on a ship, we're transporting these crates full of soil.
Yes, I wonder why they need so much soil. I wonder what are these coffin shaped crates down here in the hall.
Hey, did anybody hear something?
Yeah, it's just gonna turn into Nosferatu. We can only be so lucky. We'll be making those jokes the whole time. Every time Bela Lugosi pops up. But no, this should be good. And it's actually an early production by Hammer Films, which was the British company that ended up doing all the Frankenstein, Dracula, Mummy movies in the 60s and the 70s, and out of England, with Christopher Lee as Dracula. And but that's the thing, they like made their first horror movies in the mid 50s, but they were around since the 30s, and have a Bela Lugosi movie, but it's not, again, not explicitly horror, you know. But Phantom Ship, hey, it's a pretty good title for any movie on this show.
Yeah.
Even if it's more of a mystery, we've had, you know, movies that skew more mystery on this show.
We'll take it.
We'll take it. Scott Lugosi, that's all that matters. So this will be next Friday at 9 p.m. end of season 8. So join us for that. And of course, next Wednesday, we're going to be watching the final 2 chapters of The Whispering Shadow, and we will be answering the question, who is the Whispering Shadow?
Finally be taking off that shadowy mask.
And again, you can have your input on this. You can let us know who you think the Shadow is. Just go over to our YouTube page. We've got a poll set up there, so you can go check out, and you can vote on your prime suspect. If you don't see them there in your options, go sound off in the comments. Let us know who you think the Whispering Shadow is. We will find out this Wednesday. And it's on the edge of my
probably
seat.
Bela Lugosi.
It's probably Bela. We should get more votes for Lugosi over on that poll.
Probably Jack Foster.
See, I thought, again, that was another option I considered. They should just give me 10 options. I don't know why they only give me 4 options, but it is what it is. But you can go let us know over on our YouTube page. We also have a poll on the Twitter, but I put up 2 polls. So whichever one you're so inclined to go vote on, go vote. And we'll if you got an interesting comment, we'll read it on the show. We want to get into the theories. This is our time to unpack all the conspiracies, everything before it wraps up. Because
so if you want to add us with your conspiracy theories,
let us know
regarding the Whispering Shadow specifically. But
although I will say I did, so on the poll on Twitter, I got a comment that literally had nothing to do, even though it purported to be like it was about I think it was a bot or AI or something, but it was like, if not, then I'm sorry to the person. But the comment had nothing to do with the Whispering Shadow, so I don't know what you were doing.
It's about the other Whispering Shadow.
It was like, well, the Whispering Shadow isn't really a cliffhanger if you think about it, because why is the shadow really a shadow? Like, why is Agatha a witch? Like, that's why I'm like, is this a bot or an AI or something? I don't know what you're talking about. So it had nothing to do. So keep your conspiracy theories confined to the show, please. I can't, my brain can't follow that many running storylines at once. But so that's gonna be next Wednesday at 9 p.m. So please join us for that. Of course, if you want to follow what we're gonna be watching, our drink next week, all that good stuff, you can go follow us over on Instagram. We're over there at Scream Stream Show, also on X and TikTok at Scream Stream Show. You want to catch up on any of our past episodes, watch live with us, whatever the case may be. We are over on YouTube at Scream Stream Live. If you want to follow me or Evan over on the socials, you can find me over on YouTube at Spakenstein, X at Spakenstein, and Mr. Evan Sink is on X and Instagram at Caligari Cursed. Anything before we sign off tonight, Evan?
The way tonight's couples luck went back and forth so much, I think they need to wait until the next bad thing happens to them, and then immediately buy a lottery ticket.
Ooh, yeah. If you start timing it out just right, you can take advantage of that good luck.
You can game the system.
That's what life's all about.
Yeah.
Until next week, sweet screams, everybody.
And to all a good fright.